This is Les Everett, part of the NABWMT History Legacy Project Committee. And I'm here today talking to Leroy Scott of Detroit, Michigan, also known as Madamx. This is on Friday, July the 22nd, 2004. So thank you, Leroy, for taking this time to talk to us today. And we're going to cover several things about your involvement with the National Association of Black and White Men Together. Can you tell us, we'll start out by asking you, when did you first join the NABWMT?
Well, first I want to thank you for inviting me and having me here.
Okay.
I can't get over these things. I can't get over the wars and nothing. And some of the things that the lady said in the speech, how you go about all this stuff. I retired from New York City government as a caseworker in social work. 3 years after, I think, I heard about the BWMT. And what I was surprised at is that the 3 years before I retired, I didn't hear them say anything about the BWMT in New York, because I was, well, you might well say to a certain extent when I retired, at the height. There was a lot of, you couldn't hardly go to any of the gay bars or the meetings or anything without somebody speaking to me or calling me. Because I started my acting and writing there.
Okay. And when was that?
I didn't hear of this till I came to Detroit in '82. I belonged to the Unlimited Seniors first, for the first 6 years of that retirement. Somehow or another I met Gene and some of the other members, and I know, I was down to Hart Plaza in Detroit, and I picked up a little magazine that somebody had thrown. It was the Cruise, and in the Cruise was listed a meeting place for the BWMT. That's how I attended my first meeting.
Okay.
Les, can I stop you just a second?
Here. Okay, when you saw the advertisement, you said it was about a cruise there, about the NABWMT. Or was a cruise the magazine?
Yes.
It was a magazine. Why did this interest you at the time?
Well, the name itself was different. By chance, while I was in New York, in my early days, I went to New York for a 2 weeks vacation and stayed 28 years. Somehow or another, I read something about a meeting being taking place at Wendell Wilkie's mansion on Fifth Avenue. And I attended that lecture. It turned out to be that was the meeting of the, Madamx Society. And out of that grew the other homophile organizations and the West Side Discussion Group and whatnot. But all that time, I never heard of this. So that was my beginning.
Okay. So that makes you, makes it about 22 or 23 years that you
ago,
have been.
since I retired, yes.
Okay. And you've been a member of the Detroit chapter all these years. Have you belonged to any other chapter?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just Detroit, and that's about 17 or 18 years.
Okay. Do you remember the first meeting or the first occasion that you attended any BWMT function in Detroit?
No. I just remember the first convention. It so happened that it was in New York.
Okay.
And I gave the cocktail party at one of the bars there and combined my retirement and some of the friends I had known, and they came to that cocktail party.
Mm-hmm. Who all do you remember from those early years?
There's one or two people I recognize in the TV documentary, In the Life. This girl, we used to go to, the lesbians used to have a tea dance in New York. And there was an attorney, the name just slips me. I see them on In the Life when I watch. Right now, names don't come to me. You see, at my age, too, I don't remember names very well.
And you were saying in your performance just last evening that you just celebrated a birthday?
Yes, the Lord has blessed me. If I'm here at the next convention, I will be 88 years old.
One.
My grandmother, on the Canadian side, we only been in this country about a couple of, I'm second generation. Her skin, my mother's skin and my skin are about practically the same. Nobody knew how old they were till they died. And I remember once going home on vacation from New York, my mother, we'd go shopping. My mother would say, don't tell anybody you're my son. Say we're sister and brothers. And those days, you know, we'd go shopping. And I'd be holding my breath a lot of times because when the clerk come to wait on us, they would address us both as ma'am or miss. And that has followed me all my life. Well, I think I should say something because it's something that I don't discuss. I've only told 2 friends about it. And I don't find it interesting as a conversation, but it's affected my whole life. When I retired from New York City and came back to Detroit, one always looks for a new doctor. You change doctors because it's a new city. And I went to Ford Hospital because my mother had been in the hospital. So I had an exam and then waiting also to get a new doctor. So they gave me a lady doctor, which I didn't want. But anyway, after the examination, she says to me, you should get out and walk more. Looking at my weight. And I looked at her and I said, you should get out and walk yourself. You need to lose weight. And she smiled and she says, oh, but I'm pregnant. You are my last client. I'm resigning. Her husband was a doctor too. She says, I'm going to have a baby. So what was the results of my a physical exam? She says, you have an imbalance of hormones. She says, we all have the female and male hormones, but you have more female hormones than the male. So as you can see, my arms, I have no hair. And I have no hair on my chest. And I remember working in my office in New York, and a good friend of mine, the little West Indian lady from some island, she says, oh, Mr. Scott, she says, now that it's summertime, and you're wearing these little thin shirts and short sleeves, she says, you're going to have to wear a bra under your shirt. That started, and then I remember being recruited when there was this war. I don't remember which one it was, a long time ago. And you went to be examined. You went to a school. There's a gymnasium, and there's doctors and everybody. You go from one to another because they're going to classify you, whether you're 4-H or whatever you are. And so anyway, I finished with this doctor. I walked across the gym to the other doctor. And when I got over there, the doctor says, how did you get a figure like that? I probably had, 8-inch waist and developed and all like that. When I landed in New York, there's one time there was a possibility of getting a job as an artist model in the Art Students League. I didn't take it because I naively thought, well, I need something 9 to 5, you know, something to eat. And so that, what amazes me now today at 87, as people are still saying, you're getting my gender mixed up. I've never exploited that. Now, take for instance my best friend Gene. A year ago or two, he gave a party with the check of his first Social Security check. And it was at Clay, who just won the prize, it was at his house in his basement. And there was a lot of people invited. And I was the only one in drag that time because I wore Gene's favorite dress, which is very low and off my shoulders. And I was approached by one of the guests who wanted my address and phone number and wanted to come over to see me or whatnot. Because rarely you hear this term. I guess you would call him a titty man. And unless you have gone through that and had that experience, I've only known 2 people like that in my life because I have developed, you know, abnormally so compared to the flat chest.
Okay, you were telling us about, you know, your life and the gender issues that have arisen.
Yes, well, I came up as in a very middle class family. My grandmother, as I said, when my grandmother was 11 years old, her mother died, and she became the caregiver of the about 3 siblings underneath her, and which made her really psychologically grow up, mature too quickly, and she was very strict because her son, my uncle, didn't marry till he was in his 40s because he didn't marry unless my grandmother gave him permission. Finally, he said, you know, he was going to marry anyway, so he went on and married, brought his wife home, and the wife and my grandmother didn't get along, so they moved out, bought another house. My mother was a professional pianist, my father professional violinist. He was also one of the first jazz violinists. And they would be away on the road in circuses and carnivals and playing in orchestras and at the Palace, the dance that was between Belle Isle and Canada. So my grandmother more or less raised me while they were away. And she naively would say it sometimes that I was her little girl. We'd do the house cleaning and all like that. And I hated when Saturdays came because on Saturdays, you know, you're getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go to the East Market to buy a bushel of this, a bushel of that, and whatnot. So when I should have been out playing with the little boys, when school was out, I'm out. If I wasn't sitting in the grass digging up weeds, we were taking the wallpaper off until she had the walls scalped. Anyway, she didn't raise me to work. So when I went there to New York, a 2 weeks vacation, and decided to stay with the purpose, and one time I finally did get home, my grandmother cried and gave me my fare to go back because the point was for me to learn to stand on my own feet. Where I could have called home and say, send me 500 or send me this or that, I wouldn't do it. I struggled. One job I lasted 4, they fired me after 4 hours because I couldn't lift. I was in the shipping department, couldn't lift anything. So I went back to school. All my education was for teaching music. And I wasn't finished enough for that, even though I took a teacher's course at Juilliard and all like that. But I finally went back to Speed Writing Institute, started as a typist clerk, steno, and I took every free class the city gave, every free class the union wrote. And when I retired, I was a caseworker in social work. And the last exam I took was administrative assistant, principal administrative assistant. I got 67. I only needed 3 points, but in my file I had 25, but they wouldn't give it to you unless you passed. Anyway, as coming up, my uncle had 4 children, and they were my family, my relatives. I had no sisters and brothers. So I did not join the Masons because it was very social, and usually you had to, the balls and everything. You have a lady escort and all like that, and I didn't do that. And then the other thing I didn't do, I didn't pledge to a fraternity either, because that was more or less thing, because I came up in the social group where, say like that Thanksgiving Day came, it was whoever forces somebody else, college is going to play against each other, then the social thing, and maybe on Sundays you went to the museum, to the campus thing or this or that. So I stayed out of it, and I don't know, I began to feel that I was different in my teens.
Okay, we'll get back to the organizational stuff in just a minute, but I would like to just ask, of this you're talking about the gender issues, etc. How has all this impacted your life? I mean, are you...
It makes you... It's certain things society expects you to do as you grow up and you take your place in society. I didn't take it in Mason. I didn't take it in school. People whisper and say things or whatnot. It might have been different had I had brothers and sisters, because like now, I have a house. I inherited the house. I didn't have to buy a house or nothing. And it's practically falling down now because of my travels and whatnot. I neglected it, and I wouldn't domesticate it in that sense. So, sooner or later, after time went on, about 7 or 8 years after I'd been in New York, been home back here to take over the house, because during that period, my mother died. And then I'm left with the house and no will. I probated the house myself in court. Sooner or later, I met Gene. Gene was my second best friend and co-giver, because I had one in New York. And he attended 1 or 2 conventions before he died, but he was able to meet Gene, and they were sort of exchanged the mentor. You see, Gene had been took the place of my father. Gene was the youngest of 5 brothers, but he was more or less the father to them. So that's what he's been to me. And now I look at him, yes, he's a father I never had. When I was 12 years old, I came home from school one day, and my mother was there in the living room with Channel 2 and the soap operas, holding court. And she called me before I went upstairs. She said, "Leroy, I want to speak to you." So I came into the living room, I sat there, and she said, "Leroy, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you that Ray is not your father. He wants to adopt you. He wants you to sign the papers." And that's when I knew that I didn't have a father that I knew of. My mother she was in the high school of University of Michigan. At 18, she told me, she never, all my life, told me who my father was, where I'm coming from, or what I mixed with, and all this business. And, but her gift in music, she had the ear to do anything on the piano. She played in Toledo a while, and she played for silent movie. Sometimes I used to think, I said, well, maybe I'm Eskimo. Then I'm Jewish. We lived with Jews before we moved in our house and the house of what? So I've had that problem of the gender business and then not knowing who my father was and whatnot. So I didn't go and take everybody to be my friend. Although you're looking for, a father figure. Jim just happens to fill it. Sooner or later, but I've been going to school all my life. I've never been out of school. I'm in school now, but water aerobics. And and the acting and the drama and the things. And I found a certain release in when I finally joined the Black and White Men Together. And then I found as an adult, one of my hobbies, I leaned towards wanting to write. And so I've gone back to Wayne in journalism and creative writing, things like that. And I've done a little teaching on the piano. And I'm going to one of our members whose mother just died, and he took over their house, has a little small organ. And he wants to give it away because it's in his, he didn't want it because he bought one of the pianos from Al.
Mm-hmm.
Al had 3 pianos, so he bought one of them. So I called, I'm going to take the piano because, the organ, and I'm going to give it to Affirmation. Affirmation is the gay center there, but it's in our little town called Ferndale, which is 99% populated by gay people. So I missed out in buying the 2 chairs in the orchestra hall from the symphony for my mother and father. Then I missed out the 2 bricks in the opera house. So I'll take this organ, pay for the transportation, give it to them. They've already, sent me a letter because I gave literature to them for their library. And that's the way my life has been going.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've been quite busy and you're still quite active. Let's get back to the group stuff. I noticed that you're wearing several different tags from previous conventions.
Yeah,
Are these memorable conventions, or what about them?
I know. I just do this on anniversaries and occasions, I recently moved from the 10th floor in my building to the 2nd, and I can't find anything. I moved to avoid a 4th evacuation. And I get down here to the 2nd floor. A few weeks after, a month afterwards, and here I get into the 4th evacuation. But right now, these are the only 2 I could find.
Are there any conventions that particularly stand out in your mind?
Yes, one of them, I think it was the first one, you had a part in it. You gave me an award.
Okay.
And my chapters have given me an award. I'm always amazed. I can't believe it. Because I have practically 2 trunks full of awards and citations and everything. So I made an exhibit of it when we had an anniversary. And then I finally brought that exhibit, out over to where we were at that time. And while we were sitting at this luncheon, somebody comes and whispers and says, there's a group was discussing you today. They said about your professionalism in your performance last night. I said, that was the last minute change, because if I hadn't changed the last minute, I was going to now walk out and say I can't perform because I don't have the music.
Okay.
But I'm always amazed that I how do I get all these awards and everything? I've got trunkloads of it. And people, I can't see what I do. But I guess maybe I'm burying myself into this because it's not an empty life, but you know, it's like, here I am now, 87. You think I have no family, no nothing? Oh, this summer, my cousin's stepdaughter getting her master's from Harvard University. They called me about 6 months ago, and they were house guests at somebody's in Alabama here. And so the wife said, you know, what, she's going to graduate from Harvard. I said, oh, may I go? Because when she got her BA from Wellesley, where Senator Clinton went, I went. So I bought a jacket and everything that says Wellesley on it. So I tell everybody I went to Wellesley. I did. I had to go to get it. So then I wanted to say on top of that, I went to Harvard too. The oldest the oldest college. So why shouldn't I go there and get it? So the grandmother of the daughter gives a family dinner. So they all come to Detroit to the family dinner. So we're going to discuss me going with them because I already said I'm going. And so my cousin, he's got a white Cadillac. Anyway, at near before, and I took Jean. Jean came and got me, escorted me. Jean was the only white person there. So they all know, you know, they come to hear from guidance. Here's this teacher who taught the teachers. Okay, it's my family, of course. Then when near the end when we were going to leave, he tells me that the car is filled up and that there's no room for me, that I would have to fly. You see, after the dinner on that Sunday, that Monday they're going to drive either up or down to Boston, however you want to say it, and I would have to fly. But I said, no, forget it. I didn't say, oh, you know, no, I'm not going to go. As bad as I want to go, I'll never get a chance to go to Boston. Harvard graduation again, unless he gets a PhD there, and I'll be... Jean says, oh, stop complaining. He said, you're going to live till you're 90. He said, nobody can get out of their bed and go every way you do. And so, boy, I didn't go. So, I don't know. Now I feel... Oh, there's also a time that I went to this lawyer. It's free. I couldn't do, what am I going to do with this house? They don't want it, and none of them, all my cousins now have mansions, little mansions, and they live comfortably and all that, but nobody says, oh, Leroy, here's a room up here, you know, we want you to come stay with us. So one of the girls called me, she says, Leroy, I want to just, well, she never called me before, she says, can I put you on the income tax? She says, I'll divide with you, give you something. Said, no, thank you. Okay, because this ARRP did my income tax free. I got $900 left. So who else am I going to do it to? Yeah, maybe. I once jokingly, when I retired and came back to the house, I am the third president of the block club. So what does that say about the family? I didn't last too long anyway because some of them didn't like me. But we all started taking turns going into the hospital, so we disbanded it and divided the money. Once I was making a survey of the block, you know, putting it down who lives here and where. So I understand this very beautiful home that this engineer built. So the people that lived in it, I found out that they were going to get up a petition because of these two men living together in the house. So it didn't go materialize because I would have tried to help, you know, prevent this. But can you imagine that, the neighbors? And the person was gay. And he, the friend that they were two black, the other one was a school teacher. But the other one had been, they didn't know, they'd been in prison with those cigarettes. Because one time I came, when I had to come back to New York, uh, they saw me off on the train. I didn't start flying until my mother talked me into it. And they saw me on the train and all like that, and he gave me a cigarette, and I put it in a book, because you never saw me then without a book. I'm always reading. And then the immigration comes through, blah, 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 and they go on. I just happened to look down on the floor. They didn't look down the floor. That marijuana was laying there on the floor right in front of them. Okay. So what else is new?
I bet that was something. Well, you know, you're known a very infamous person in the organization. You're also known as Madamx. Can you tell us about when Madamx first came about, where the idea came from? Just tell us about Madamx.
In Detroit, when I was a teenager, when Halloween came, it was downtown. They would close off certain blocks, and people would come down there to masquerade, you know, wear their costumes and different things like that. But I think it was mostly gays, but there was more bars to it downtown then too. I don't remember whether that was before the riots or after the riots. Anyway, I think it's rather vague. I think I was supposed to get an award or something like that. And being middle class and my grandmother pushing my uncle, trying to make an alderman out of him, you know, into politics. It would have been in the paper maybe if I won. So I didn't take it. Well, so like in the movies, what did they do? They take other names. Somehow I remember, Stella Dallas and her daughter. You remember Stella Dallas looking in the window, seeing her daughter married and she couldn't go? Yeah, and then there's a person right sitting down in that luncheon, you know. About a year or two ago, he came to me and he says, "Oh, hi, Lottie." I said, when the fuck did you get this, or what are you calling me Lottie? Because this other person that I only had one roommate in my life in New York and it didn't work out, came to Detroit and it happened to tell him, "You don't come to meet me with some of my past that doesn't concern you, it's none of your business." So that was one of the things, Dallas, and so if they come to me if I win or something like that, you're going to give your name? So on back streets, I remember back streets. So
that was a bar.
The mystery woman.
Oh, back.
The mystery woman. Okay. So I took Madamx rather than give my name or something. Then other people had, like movie stars and this and that. And then there was a period, in my frustration and anxieties and all like that. It's probably the period when I won a contest in New York for being the best Betty Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Because, every time there was something went wrong, the first thing you did was grab a drink and a cigarette,
Mm-hmm.
For all these drinkers. Ah.
So you thought of Madamx. You mentioned this was in Detroit. Did you go to New York after that, or was...
No.
So you were not Madamx in New York? Is that correct?
I don't really remember. I think so. I think it's all from those early days in Detroit, where I might have won or should have gotten it, but didn't take it, and use that name. I must have used it then.
Okay. But were you in the entertainment business also in New York, or did you do...
Eventually, you see. Now, as I told you, Madamx is the mother of all the homophile organizations. Out of it grew the other things. And as it was growing, then these discussion groups started. And the West Side discussion group was the only one that remained of them. And out of that, we used to, practically do a show in the clubhouse. We had 2 floors in this club, and our club, the bar downstairs, and the bottles had our club number on it. So there was a person called, I'll think of his name, he toured the country in All My Sons. He came to the old gas theater. I used to pretend like I was Josephine Baker, because Josephine Baker was the last chorus girl, which when she made the mistake, she would make mistakes. But being on the end, it would draw attention to her. That's how she started, making all. And so one day, Ed Truss, he says, I'm going to put you together and to do a drama. We started with melodramas. And, Stop the Drag Show. So one of the board of directors in this group who wrote a play called What Can You Buy for a Token? That's what started us. And I won. I got a Best Male Supporting Actor of 1976. I didn't have a word to speak in the play, but when I came, everything took place on the street, on the subway. I come in with a child. I gotta make you believe I got a child with me. I could change my milk. I could do everything with this child, all during the play. It was really a sort of a scene stealer. That's how I got an award for that.
Oh, okay.
That started 18th Street Playhouse. It might still be there, I don't know.
Okay. Well, about last year, a year ago, the NABWMT decided to honor you by renaming our annual talent show the Madamx No Talent Show. What do you think about that?
I understand. I think I understand what it was about, because to use the term loosely, to say not another drag, not another this. So there's got to be something else that's different, because we're a sum total of our experiences and what we've gone through, we've lived through. Some time ago, I never could talk like this. Talk and tell about myself, and I don't feel self-conscious about it now, because I've been pushed through too many things I've gone through. And I've got to learn now to stand. I can't do it. I don't pick up the phone every moment, call, gee, I'm in trouble, blah, blah, blah. No, we've gone through all these things. So what makes us different is that some of these things that were in our intellect, the things that interest us, like acting. I'm a member of the museum that go every Friday, and the library and everything. All these things come out into it. Just gonna drag every time? No. Where did I get that clown suit in the first place? There was a reason I had it. Oh, I might have gotten it. We had our chapter did a Halloween one at somebody's house, and for to be different, and as it's opposed to being put on a dress, you're reflecting, Shakespeare and all these. Oscar Wilde.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had guts enough and dared to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. You saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, think in those terms. I'm doing what I want to do, what I think I should do. And unfortunately, what I had prepared for you to see last night, you didn't see, but you're going to see it next year.
All right.
But you said, well, I almost said the name, I won't say the name, you don't want to bet so-and-so, doing this rope. Well, when are they going to ask me, let's pretend I'm a movie star, And I'm 57. Okay, I keep playing I'm popular and all like that. When are you going to ask me, one day you're going to ask me to do the mother part? Do the grandmother part?
Oh, do you want to do that
And
now?
are you still, no, I'm just saying these things happen to you.
Uh-huh.
You know, because like I've got it, I even made a tape just as a joke. I've got it down here, I'm talking to Miss Bush, what she said to me several years ago. She said, "Oh, child, I didn't, I thought you retired 2 years ago." And that was 5 years ago. And you know, somebody said something, it's like somebody almost, I wasn't sure what they gave me the hint last night. When do you stop? Well, when do I stop? Warhorse, you going to stop me? You know, in one of our, the other group, Unlimited Seniors, we had a discussion group. We're sitting around discussing, and this man says, "Oh, I dread the day that I'm going to retire. I don't know what to do with myself." Because they had no friends, no clubs, no hobbies, no this and no that. Some people sit down and die. You can't. I know a lady, she's been on the job 40 years, but she don't know, she's got everything, but she don't know what to do with herself. Okay, where do I go from here? Somebody's got to stop me sooner or later. And I thought almost he said it before I went on last night. That sort of colored me. I didn't, between the noise and things, trying to hear what you said and remember that words.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what made me last this long? Why am I up to 87? Why am I still getting up and doing this? I got pain. I stopped telling you. I said, Gene, I'm going to stop telling you about some of my problems. Just wait till you get to be 80. You'll find out.
All right, all right. Well, before we get off Madamx, and we'll be talking about some other things, I just love it when you do the Betty Davis rendition, you know. Could you just give us a little sample of that?
Oh, you know, unfortunately, you know something.
I know you don't have the hat and all that, but...
I lost something. The script. You know, let's go back to the Corduroy Club. That was, I don't know whether I just said this to Al down at our table. Well, I'll say it to you now. The Corduroy Club, from the Machine, that's the next what I joined to. And, we had this, what are we talking about? What did you just say?
I was asking for a little
Betty
rendition
Davis.
of Betty
yes,
Davis. You know,
okay.
like...
Now, before Ed Trust organized us into a drama group, we had this